Ann Butler wrote a book called Wife, Mother, Spy, detailing her work as a wife, a mother, and a spy. The most fascinating part of it is that her family did not know the spy part. How could any person, as a wife and a mother, manage being a spy without letting the secret out, much less being effective at it? You would have to be the ultimate multitasker.
Absolutely.
Yes, and she joins us on the phone right now. Ann Butler, author of Wife, Mother, Spy. Ann, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, listen, we are fascinated how you could multitask in a world like that. It's an incredible story, and I guess we will just start right at the end where we say, how did you tell your family that you were a spy?
Well, my husband knew all along that I worked for the CIA, so he knew where I worked, never knew what I was doing each day or who I was meeting with or what I was talking about. My kids, on the other hand, my oldest daughter learned inadvertently, probably in middle school, when she was friends with the daughter of my boss. And the daughter told her, oh, your mom works for my dad, and they both work for the CIA. So that was kind of a little bit unplanned. The other 4 kids learned only the day before I went in for my retirement ceremony.
Oh, wow.
And they were, needless to say, a little surprised. But I wanted them to be able to walk across the field into the big building.
Now, my question to you is, during the time you were involved in espionage, obviously you were keeping that cover as a wife and mother as part of maybe, your day-to-day look. How often were you in potential immediate danger?
So, personally, not often. Of course, when when it was a dangerous situation, I would carry my Glock. Of course, I had that. But generally, I was okay. I knew how to protect myself. I knew how to stay out of dangerous situations. The people who were in the most danger were the ones that I was asking to spy for us, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, their careers were in danger. Their families were in danger, their lives. So I was more worried for them than I was for myself. I knew how to take care of myself.
Was it hard for you as a parent when your kid thought that they were fooling you and you wanted to tell them, you can't fool me? Do you know how good I am at this?
Well, ironically, they didn't know until I told them where I worked that there were certain play dates, there were certain activities, there were certain places I took them that was all part of my job. I had to go and see something. I had to go and meet somebody. And I was using them as needed. Brought them along if I had to. Like, they were great. They were a great cover.
They're like,
great
does mom have a special set of skills? Like, what's going on here?
It's interesting to me then. So I'm picturing that you're sitting on a bench with a potential asset while your kids are playing. You're like, all right, go on and play. They're like, here, come watch. You're like, hold on. Meanwhile, you're potentially mining an asset who could be giving you really critical information.
Right. Well, when I was actually meeting assets, it was clandestine. So we were meeting in, out of the way places and cars. But when I was trying to find people with access, if I was developing somebody, for example, I could be talking to them. And in fact, I had people over with their kids and told my son to go play with Peter upstairs while I was talking to the dad. So there were times when I was doing I had a developmental relationship going on. I was trying to get some information out of them. And I had to have my kids play their role unbeknownst to them.
Wow. We're talking to Ann Butler. She has a fascinating book that you must get. It's called Wife, Mother, Spy. It's a story of a woman who was able to work for the CIA covertly while also being a wife and mother unbeknownst to her kids. What is the one thing about espionage that people really don't understand?
It's a 24/7 job. I mean, it is not you don't go in 9 to 5 and then come home. That's the whole point of this, is that you're constantly on. You're constantly looking for new sources. You're constantly arranging meetings, many of them after dark, of course. You're always recruiting. You're always you're writing reports. It's 24/7. You cannot not pick up the phone if somebody calls. You cannot just say, oh, my day's over. It is a 24/7 job. So on top of that, be a mom, where you're having to make dinner.
Also, 24/7 job.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. Two completely full-time jobs.
Did you end up feeling lonely?
Actually, I like to be by myself. I want to be by myself because during that long career and with 5 kids, I was never alone. I was always out trying to meet people for work, and I was always with my family. It was a treat to be by myself.
Okay.
So, no, I didn't feel alone.
Okay, I wonder because I thought, the isolation of not being able to share the origin of how you're spending your time, because it's always for a reason. It's not
Right,
just
yeah.
for downtime,
Right. But that's why it takes a certain kind of person to do it. I didn't really want to talk about myself. It was mission focused, and it was important to be undercover. It was important not to talk about myself. So as long as you're aware of that, it'll work.
You are unique and exceptional.
Very.
I know that you had to move
you.
around with your family, often. How
Yep.
many times have you moved, or how many countries do you remember off the top of your head that you had to pick up the whole family and move?
Well, actually, I did a little calculation after I wrote the book. There were 12 moves.
Ooh.
Some of them were domestic. Most of them were overseas. So 12 actual moves where we had to pack everything up and move our kids, move the dog. There was a lot of traveling in between, of course, for my work, but 12 official moves where the kids had to change schools each time.
Wow. I did almost that. I did almost 12
wow.
months. Yeah.
But imagine, so when you're saying in different countries, did the kids have to just learn all the new languages, or how did they adapt to?
Well, they went to American schools, but they did take the local language. That was all part of the curriculum. What was hard about it, as with my husband, because he moved, changed jobs every time, was they had to say goodbye to friends everywhere, and that broke my heart to watch. I mean, I really didn't have a lot of friends. I was working all the time, but to watch my kids become friends with people, and then 2 years later, 2.5, 3 years later, have to say goodbye, is tough.
And that's why now they're all in the circus.
And I wanted to ask you, when you're in the field for your job, we all hear and see, spy craft, like, they wear glasses and, wigs and things like that. Did you have a lot of those things that changed your appearance during your years?
So yes, obviously we're required to have a certain disguise. I had a couple different, I had a very simple disguise, maybe a mole I would put on my face, scarf, change of, glasses. But then I also had a wig that was made especially for me that fit me and my complexion. So, yes, depending on where we are in the world and what we're working against, you have various disguises that we keep in the office. Obviously, we don't have them in the house, and they're not out for Halloween. They're serious, no-nonsense ways to change our appearance.
Interesting. Now, I have one final question for you. I want everyone to go out and get your book. It is Wife, Mother, Spy. Her name is Ann Butler. She worked at the CIA and espionage, unbeknownst to her children and her friends and family, other than her husband. I mean, what a fascinating story. Watching television now, what reality show do you think you would just be so good at? Because my initial suspicion would be Survivor, because Survivor is all about getting trust, earning trust, and making your way to the end.
Yep.
I mean, you're highly trained at that. Have you ever thought about a reality show?
No, I think it's kind of nonsense, because the reality shows, I don't know how real they are.
Yeah.
And also, it's not, my job was not talking about myself, not going out there and waving the flag, not being out in the front lines. It was more being under the radar, staying under the radar. So that's kind of what
I think Survivor.
And I wrote the book, but.
Survivor, I got to tell you something. I think you would be good, because it's all about staying under the radar till the end.
She's got to be rolling her eyes at the mole.
There you go. There you go.
She's like, I'm not drinking out of coconuts. I've done my work. Well, you know what? And it's certainly a pleasure having you on, and we want everyone to go buy the book, Wife, Mother, Spy by Ann Butler. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your service.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You bet. Take care.